Our story begins more than 60 years ago inside an abandoned chicken coop, where our founder discovered a retired teacher living, no home, no health care. So she said no to this injustice and yes to transforming lives. It's this drive, this compassion, that inspired AARP. Today, we empower people to choose how they live as they age. As a wise friend and fierce defender, we advocate for better health, financial security, and stronger communities. AARP, join us in making a difference.
Lancaster's food scene is on the rise. On this episode 7, join us as we explore French cuisine, French eats, and French vibes in Lancaster. Bon appétit à tous. Au revoir.
Bonjour. As Emerson said, the French dining scene is exploding in Lancaster. You can walk by a patisserie that rivals any you will find in France, complete with the greatest and best French desserts to please any palate, or an award-winning French restaurant founded by a chef who hails from France. Or you could sit at an outside cafe, sipping wine and eating bonbons and pretending you're on the left bank of Paris. None of this seemed possible 18 years ago when Rachel Adams decided to open a creperie. People thought there wouldn't be a market for crepes. Who was going to eat such a delicate meal for breakfast or lunch or possibly even dinner? Well, all of that has been made possible due to her culinary skills and her dedication to making a wide variety of crepes for all occasions, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Take a step inside the kitchen of Chef Rachel and learn the inside scoop on how she makes delicate, delicious, and memorable crepes, both savory and sweet. She uses only the freshest ingredients, taking advantage of Lancaster County produce.
Chef Rachel, today we're going to be making crepes. We're going to start with our savory crepe on the hot burners here. We're going to do a summer vegetable crepe, which is going to be packed with lots of fresh veggies, eggs, some fresh dill, delicious stuff. So to get started, all we're going to do is take our crepe batter, which is really just very similar to pancake batter. Drop it right on our burner, and we're going to spread it out really thin.
What is that device you're using to spread the batter?
A lot of people ask me that. It's funny, we just call it a crepe spinner.
A crepe.
I don't know that it has a technical term.
But it's perfect for this application, isn't it?
Yeah, it's perfect. And a lot of places use wooden ones, but we like the metal. They're much more durable. And a friend of mine is into welding, so he made these for us.
Ah, custom.
Yeah, and they're great.
My next
so it
question
cooks really fast.
It sure does. And what temperature do you have the burner set to?
So the top burner is around 390 degrees Fahrenheit. That's our hotter burner for spinning the crepes. And then these other burners to build the crepes are a little bit lower. They're like 260.
So if you're making these at home, would you recommend maybe having 2 pans ready?
What?
2 pans ready?
Actually, no. If you're doing it at home, you're probably going to want to use the same crepe. It's just or the same pan. It's just going to take a little bit longer. You're going to let it sit a little bit longer before you flip it over.
Got it.
You'll pour your batter into your pan, tilt it around the pan to get it to cover the bottom of your pan, and then you're going to let that sit in there and cook probably closer to 30 seconds to even a minute, while on these burners, because we can have it so much higher, we can flip it over pretty much instantly. But you just kind of gauge it by the coloring and you can see when the batter is no longer liquid, then it's ready to flip over. And the eggs are going to cook right through the crepe. So into that base is where we add all of our goodies. So we're going to put the cheese down first. I'm using Swiss cheese, but any cheese you want will work. Got some sauteed mushrooms. This is the only ingredient that I pre-cooked a little. Everything else is going on raw. It will cook right in the crepe. Tomatoes. I like to dice up my ingredients really small too. That way I can spread them all out really evenly, and every bite of your crepe is going to get a little bit of every flavor, except for that giant onion.
Also enables the vegetables to cook more evenly too, doesn't it?
Yep, and faster, because the smaller your components are, they're going to cook in that crepe quicker. Bell peppers, and then our last ingredient is our local zucchini. One of my favorite things about the summer.
Chef Rachel is practicing mise en place, having all her ingredients prepared ahead of time.
Which is very handy when you're making a fast food like a crepe, because it does cook so quickly that you want to have everything ready, chopped up and at your fingertips, so you can just put it right in there. A little salt and pepper. And then from here, we really just are going to let it cook. You want to give the crepe some time to get that egg cooked. That's your main thing. And then it'll help soften and heat up your vegetables. That's it. We can fold it in half and let it steam itself a little bit on the burner there. And it really only takes, even with going from raw egg, it takes just a couple minutes. And you can sort of flip them around. If you're doing it at home in your skillet, same thing. You can fold it in half and let it cook a little bit. Flip it back and forth a little. If you're just doing sweet crepes hot, they take a lot less time. They're very quick. Put your Nutella on there, or your fresh fruit, flip it over. It's pretty much done.
And we'll see that next.
Yes, we will.
Chef Rachel explains that they serve their crepes wrapped in a cone of parchment paper, similar to how she ate her first crepe when she went to Paris in high school and enjoyed a crepe from a crepe cart. It makes it easier to eat, particularly a full crepe like the one she just made, or you can take it out of the parchment and enjoy it on your plate. There you see the finished product, the 2 savory summer omelet crepes, made in just a flash because she had all the ingredients. Where did you develop your fascination with crepes?
It's a good question. It started in a few different ways. I took French all through school, and I always loved the language and the culture, the art. Loved Impressionist paintings and Monet and the architecture, the history of Europe in general. And I think it started with French class. And then I was able to travel to France in high school and got to really experience it firsthand and just fell in love even more. Had my first actual French crepe on the street, and that was such an amazing experience.
In Paris, right?
Yeah. I went to Penn State University for science, of all things, environmental resource management, but got a part-time job at a little crepe cafe. So it kind of all came together there. And I was like, oh, this is it. This is what I want to do. I love this. And so
is that where you learned to make crepes? You
Yeah.
didn't go to cooking school, per se. You learned on the job.
Yep. And I just loved it. I fell in love with it.
And when did you start your business?
So we just turned 18 in April.
Wow.
So 2006.
And your daughter's 17.
Yeah.
So you became
I
a
like
mom.
to do everything at once.
Wow. Does she make crepes?
No, she was barista here for a while. She likes making coffee.
Oh, that's helpful.
But she didn't really want to work side by side with her mom in the kitchen.
Understand. Wonderful. Okay. So have you seen more of an interest in crepes given the focus on Paris and the Olympics and so forth?
Specifically recently, I really don't know. I think in general, I mean, just from our experience from 18 years ago when a lot of people were telling me this is a terrible idea, Lancaster's not going to like this, we're a meat and potatoes kind of place, which you can still put in a crepe, by the way. So now, 18 years later, it's still growing and people love it. So I love to see that this has become a common and loved and normal, food for our little area, which I don't think it was back when we first started.
Well, I think it's safe to say, Rachel, that you started the crepe business here in Lancaster.
Thank you.
And those doubting Thomases that didn't think you were going to make it, right?
I know, right?
Are probably some of your best customers. Awesome. That's great. So what advice would you have for someone at home who may have struggled to make a crepe? You sent us a recipe for batter, which is awesome. And it seemed very simple and very straightforward. So we'll share that during this as well. What lessons have you learned? And clearly having the right equipment makes a big difference.
Yes, it does.
So if you're really into crepes, having a crepe burner.
Yeah, if you're really into it and you really want to make it a part of a regular staple in your household, they make, we have commercial ones here, but they make ones that are smaller, that are not as heavy duty, that are easy for home use. And they're great because it's fun. It's more interactive. You can get your kids involved and teach them how to actually try to spin out the crepe, with the crepe spinner. It's I think a more authentic way to do it too. That's how a lot of places do it in France. The carts on the street and the restaurants, a lot of them do it that way. So that's a plus to that. But the skillet is tried and true. It works. Just be prepared that there are probably going to be some sacrificial crepes in the beginning that just don't make it out of the pan alive, and that's okay. That's normal.
That happens with pancakes too.
Yeah, that's true.
But once I got an electric skillet, which had more temperature control,
I
make perfect pancakes now.
There you go.
So I'm thinking there's an analogy there.
It is all about the equipment, yeah.
And having the right ability to control the heat and the temperature and the consistency. So, but what's cool about encouraging people to make crepes at home is then they can pick the ingredients that they like.
Yep.
And would you say a crepe is healthier than a pancake?
That's a good question. I think that, I guess yes, because typically you don't just eat one pancake. You have a stack of pancakes and syrup and butter, and a crepe, the amount of batter that you use to make one large crepe is probably the equivalent to one pancake, but then you can fill it with all kinds of healthy ingredients, or not healthy ingredients,
but
it all depends on what you put in there.
Whole meal on a crepe, right?
Yep. These are crepes that can be made either ahead of time and you let chill to room temperature, or if you made a whole bunch of hot crepes for family or friends earlier in the day and you had some left over, this is a great way to reuse them later on for dessert or breakfast the next day. I recommend not refrigerating them. I think that if you kind of wrap them up, or a lot of people have these old-fashioned pie Tupperware containers. These are great. Just leave them at room temperature and sit them in here. But so yeah, all you do is it's already made, it's already room temp. So this is fun for if you want to work with ice cream or whipped cream, because a hot crepe obviously is hot. And so if you're going to add ice cream or whipped cream to them, you have very little time before that becomes soup. So this gives you a little bit more time to make something more substantial with that.
So the crepe is basically at room temperature and can be made the day before.
Yep. And what I was going to do is just a little simple fresh fruit crepe. It's just going to be some fresh banana, some strawberries, some blueberries, and whipped cream. Very simple. We're doing this right now as sort of a red, white, and blue theme.
Bastille Day.
Yeah. Works for our flag and theirs.
Right.
So you're just going to put your fruits on here. Again, I like to do only half of the crepe because the way I fill these, I'm going to put whipped cream right on top of this fruit and fold it up. So if I had filled the whole crepe, it'd be hard to fold it. So I think that it's a good rule of thumb to put all your ingredients on half of your crepe.
On one side.
All right, so we have our ingredients there. The next step is your whipped cream. And you can go really light with this. I like to be a little heavy on the whipped cream.
Generous.
Yeah, a little bit. So we're just going to follow the fruit. Fold this over. Make a little chop here. Fold it again.
Look at that.
And put it right on your plate.
No wrap required for this one.
Nope. These are just open-faced, and there's really no way to, I guess you could eat it with your hand. But
so it's powdered sugar and
the fun is in the
glaze.
toppings on these, yeah. So we use just powdered sugar. We have a strawberry glaze or chocolate syrup or any kind of sauce you want to make. If you want to make your own fruit sauces at home, reduce down some fruit. It's just that simple, but it's so patriotic and fresh and delicious, and it's all fresh fruit in there. So, there's an element of health to it.
Awesome. Voila! There you have it. The red, white, and blue crepe, complete with fresh fruit and fresh whipped cream and a strawberry glaze. Who can resist that patriotic dessert? Here are the recipes that Chef Rachel uses. A simple crepe batter recipe begins with 2 large eggs, 1¼ cup whole milk, a cup all-purpose flour, a tablespoon melted unsalted butter, a pinch of kosher salt, a tablespoon of sugar for sweet crepes, or a tablespoon of minced fresh herbs for savory crepes. To make the batter, combine eggs, milk, flour, melted butter, salt, and sugar. Blend until smooth, about 10 seconds. You can also combine ingredients in a mixing bowl and whisk vigorously until smooth. Cover and let sit at room temperature overnight, no more than 16 hours. To cook, heat a 10-inch nonstick or well-seasoned cast iron or carbon steel skillet over medium heat for 2 minutes. Lightly grease with oil or butter, using a paper towel to wipe out the excess. Hold the pan's handle in one hand and pour in a small dollop of batter, swirling and tilting the pan to spread batter in a thin. Using a thin metal spatula, lift one edge of the crepe. Grab that edge with the fingers of both hands and flip the crepe. Cook on other side for 10 seconds, then fold in half for serving. Now, your actual cooking times may vary depending on the heat of the skillet that you're using at home, but take Rachel's advice and make sure you don't let the crepe overcook or you'll lose its tender nature. There she is, picking it up, flipping it over after a brief period of time on the cooking on the one side. She lets it finish cooking on the other side, and then she brings it over to a cooler burner, which she can use to then fill the savory crepe with the goodies that she has prepared. Involves 2 whisked eggs, 2 ounces of cheese, she uses Swiss in this demonstration, 1½ ounces of sautéed mushrooms, 1½ ounces of diced bell peppers, 1½ ounces of diced onions, and 1½ ounces of diced tomatoes. She adds seasonal vegetables to taste. During the summer, she adds fresh garden zucchini cut thin, salt and pepper to taste, and fresh dill. She spins out the crepe in the pan using a crepe spreader or thin spatula. You flip back over immediately, and pour eggs over the crepe. Sprinkle cheese and veggies on half the crepe and season. Once all the fillings have been added, fold the crepe in half. Cook until eggs are cooked thoroughly. Fold the crepe again and slide on a plate. You know, it's fascinating to watch Rachel decorate her crepes with fresh veggies in a flash, and to think about the simple origin of the crepe. Legend has it that crepes originated in France around Brittany in the 13th century. According to local stories, peasants made the first crepe by accidentally dropping porridge on a flat cooktop. The thin porridge layer turned into thin, crispy, and delicious crepes. French crepes were very popular because they were cheap to make and did not use many raw ingredients. Poor families could use leftover buckwheat porridge to make buckwheat crepes and minimize food waste. Nowadays, crepe restaurants or creperies are a common feature in many French and European cities, and thankfully, due to Rachel, here in Lancaster. And now the pièce de résistance, this sweet crepe, sometimes called a galette. You take a pre-made crepe, add fruit ingredients to 1/2 of the crepe as Rachel shows us. We cover the fruit with whipped cream and fold over the other half of the crepe. We crease the crepe with your hand and fold it over once more. Top with another dollop of whipped cream, squirt strawberry drizzle over the folded crepe, and topped with powdered sugar. Bon appétit! So now that you know how to make crepes both savory and sweet at home, you might be ready to climb the staircase at Montmartre in Paris, or you're packing your bag to go see the Paris Olympics the end of July, or perhaps just getting ready to watch the opening ceremonies. Well, don't leave this show without gaining an understanding of what French food would be without fromage. Ennui. Boredom. Thankfully, there's no need to be bored. There is an endless supply of French cheeses, as Emerson quickly...
To the washed rinds that are pungent and stinky and really good. We have as close to a real camembert that we can get, we think. We have goat brie. We have the Showers, which is from a breed type from the eastern part of France, from Campania. We have Pont l'Evêque from Normandy. Alsatian Munster from France.
Alsatian Munster.
Yeah, I call it Alsatian. It's real Munster from France. It's stinky. It's good.
Yeah.
Real good. We have the Delice de Bourgogne, which is our triple cream, which is fabulous. And then along here are a variety of goat cheeses, French, ranging from soft and mild to aged and hard, tangy. Of course, in the back you can see the famous Roquefort. Saint Agur below it, Forme d'Humbert in the stovepipe, as I call it. We have a raw milk Morbier.
Bill is the owner of an international delicatessen that specializes in imported foods from all over the world. Here in his refrigerated case is a virtual catalog of all the different types of cheeses made in France, available here in Lancaster.
Floral covered washed rind cheese from the Alsace. So it has that good pungency to it, good flavor. And I also have another one from the Alsace that's washed with Riesling. That's killer, in my opinion.
And what would this cheese pair well with?
Oh, these cheeses go well with a good, believe it or not, a good Alsatian Riesling, a red wine of your choice, and of course the Belgian sours go beautifully with it, the sour beer. The Belgian red ales are perfect for that. But depending on the strength of the cheese, whatever trips your trigger. That's covered with all the herbs that grow like wildfire all over Corsica. They call it the maquis. And they coat the cheese with it, and this stuff is an intense herby flavor. Along with the smoothness of the sheep's milk, it's beautiful.
So now you can order that plate of French cheese with confidence, knowing that there is a wide variety of cheeses and an accompanying glass of red wine or Riesling that matches the intense flavor of the cheese. Or maybe you're empowered now to make sweet or savory crepes at home, or to order one when you go to a creperie in your area. Bon appetit!